is Miss Lizzie. I don't ever smoke the dizzy, but we can always share some ditzies. It's just a cup in time. This song doesn't have to rhyme. Life's all of us, not every moment we can be feeling fine. I wanna share a moment, just a second if you will, maybe even a cup of thrill. We could share this performance. It's tea time, come sit with me.
Well, welcome guys. Miss Liz in the house, and we are here on a Friday, which is not a regular scheduled day. So yeah, Miss Liz did it. I pulled it off a whole week, 7 shows this week. It's been a busy week. This afternoon I have Mike Bolland in the house, and we're going to talk about bowling and the PB. Let me get it right. The PBA tour, and we're going to show you a little clip and video in the middle of tea time today as well. For all those people out there that are just tuning into Miss Liz for the first time, give Miss Liz's YouTube channel and all the platforms like, follow, and subscribe: Facebook, LinkedIn, TikTok, Instagram, Lemonade, Clapper, all those good ones that you guys know. If I haven't mentioned any, Miss Liz is on all of those platforms as well. Give those a like, follow, and subscribe, and get these tea times out there because they do make a difference for the guests and for somebody who resonates with the topics. Also jump over to the podcast apps: Podbean, iHeartRadio, Listen Notes, and Spotify, and all the ones I haven't mentioned, Miss Liz on those ones too. And then jump over to babyboomers.org. If you're looking to be featured on different podcasts and Miss Liz is not bringing you the flavor you're looking for, babyboomers.org has over 50 different podcasts there that you can get featured on, and they're always looking for guests as well. So check that out. I've been partnered with them for about 3 years, and an amazing platform. They have podcasts there, radio shows, all that good stuff. Some goodies for the baby boomers out there. So let's get started with disclaimer and then a beautiful intro, and then we're going to get Mike in here and we're going to spill his tea. And his tea is empowerment, confidence, and possibilities. That is the tea we are serving in the house today for tea time. Disclaimer for Miss Liz's Tea Time live shows. Miss Liz's Tea Time is a global platform dedicating to sharing real life stories, diverse perspectives, and meaningful conversations that inspire awareness, healing, and connection. I'm Miss Liz is going live using StreamYard. Before leaving a comment during the live broadcast, please grant StreamYard permission to display your name at StreamYard.com. Please be advised that all the content brought forward during any Tea Time show is presented in good faith. However, discussions may include opinions, beliefs, and perspectives that do not necessarily represent the views of Miss Liz or the Tea Time platform. Information shared by guests is based on their own experiences and is perceived to be accurate at the giving time of airing. All guests, viewers, and participants are responsible for using their own good judgment when considering any action that relate to these discussions. Some episodes may cover sensitive topics, including but not limited to trauma, abuse, grief, mental health, and other emotionally triggering subjects. Listeners' and viewers' discretion is strongly advised. Tea Time with Miss Liz is an open discussion forum designed to offer insight, inspire awareness, and create connection. It is not a substitute for professional, medical, legal, or therapeutical advice. If you require professional support, please seek assistance from qualified professionals or trusted resources in your area. If you have any questions regarding this disclaimer or the content of the discussion, you are welcome to contact me, aka Miss Liz, directly at bookingmissliz@gmail.com or visit my link tree at Miss Liz's Tea Time. By choosing to participate in, comment on, or view these live shows, you acknowledge and accept this disclaimer. Your participation is entirely voluntary. I, Miss Liz, welcomes you to join the conversation with an open heart, and if at any time you feel this platform is not right for you, I respect your wishes and decision and welcome you back whenever you are ready. Tea Time with Miss Liz is serving truth and awareness one cup at a time. Well, welcome to Tea Time with Miss Liz, where every story reminds us that success is not simply about reaching the destination, but about the resilience, determination, and lesson we gather along the way. Today's guest brings passion, perseverance, and a lifelong commitment to excellence, both on and off the bowling lanes. Please join me in welcoming Mike Bolland, professional bowler, coach, author, and motivational speaker, whose journey has been shaped by dedication, discipline, and an unwavering belief in continuous growth. Mike has spent years inspiring others through his achievements in bowling and his willingness to share the lessons he learned about focus, perseverance, leadership, and overcoming challenges. His story reminds us that every setback is an opportunity to improve, and every experience can become a stepping stone towards something greater. Today's tea time will explore the mindset behind success, building resilience through challenges, leadership, discipline, and personal growth, lessons learned through sports and life, inspiring others through perseverance. Mike reminds us that champions are not made by avoiding failure, they are made by learning from it, adapting, and continuing to move forward. So grab your cup and join us for an inspiring conversation filled with determination, purpose, and real life tea, truth, experience, and awareness. So let me get Mike in here and spill some tea. Welcome, Mike.
Thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
It is an honor to have you here, Mike. So let's get to know who Mike is before we get into all of the other good stuff. So who was Mike as a little guy and who is Mike now?
Well, as a little guy, I was born in Montclair, New Jersey, and boy, that was a little while ago, I guess. And we moved to Hazlitt, New Jersey when I was been 2 years old, so I don't remember Montclair too much. It was great growing up in New Jersey, and I was out there until about 8 years old. And one of the interesting things is, I was born without a right hand, and back in New Jersey, we went to a place called Kessler Institute, and that's where I used to get my hooks. As a matter of fact, one of them's back. My original hook is back here. I don't know if I'm pointing to it. I don't have any fingers to point with anyway, so I don't know why I'm even trying to point. But it was great, and I really enjoyed it there. But one of the most interesting things, lucky things, I think, is when we moved to Arizona, because that's where I'm at now. We moved to Arizona when I was about 8 years old. And unbeknownst to us, there was a production company that was looking for a one-handed boy to be in a movie. And of course, there's not a lot of one-handed people, especially little boys at the time, I guess. And I got the part of Danny in The Trial of Billy Jack, and that was the third highest grossing film of 1974. So it was a little while ago, but it was a lot of fun, and it really kind of shaped me as a young person. And that experience was just so fun, and I really enjoyed it. That's a little bit more luck than it is skill. And if you see my acting ability at the time, you'd know I didn't have any skill. So it was a lot of fun. And it's one of those things that, you're born a certain way, and sometimes it presents opportunities, other times it closes doors. But you have to decide which path you want to take, and, just kind of think through it and be positive through it.
So who are you today, Mike?
Well, today, a lot of things that shape me really to today's version of Mike Bolland happened in 2016. I was diagnosed with throat cancer, and I wasn't a smoker. So when the doctor said, "Mike, by the way, you have throat cancer. Are you a smoker?" I said, "No, but I'm willing to start." I'm kind of joking. Of course, I'm joking about that. It was one of those, kick in the head types of things. Honestly, it scared the heck out of me. There's just no other way to say it. But that changed me at that point. There's a couple things that going through that I wanted to do with my life, and I realized in talking to other people in the limb loss community now with some of the things I'm doing, setting the goals is extremely important. And I didn't really realize it at the time, but I just decided that I was going to set 2 goals for myself after I beat cancer. I mean, that, it's like, after this is going to happen. Number one, I was going to try stand-up comedy because I always wanted to try it. And I did that. And I did that for a little, probably 8 years here in the Southwest of the United States, and really enjoyed it. But another thing I wanted to do was try to make a comeback on the Pro Bowlers Tour. And this is something that I put aside. I didn't do that until now. I decided, you know what? There's something called the PBA 60, and I'm old enough to participate in the PBA 60. Let's go do it. So about a month and a half ago, I started practicing, because I don't bowl leagues. When I was done with the Pro Bowlers Tour, basically in 1992, on and off the tour for a while, I was done with bowling because I only wanted to be a pro bowler. So here I am 34 years later going, all right, let's give this another shot. And that's kind of what I am now, just more that whole thing shaping through what I went through with cancer. I decided to leave the great organization. I was with is it okay if I say the organization I was with?
Oh, yes. Yes, absolutely.
Yeah. I was with a company called Discount Tire, and I worked there for 30 years. I started in the stores, changing tires like most of the people. And then I re-educated myself, started building the website. So I ran the e-business department, the digital marketing, and the customer experience at different parts of my corporate career. But the cancer, again, just made me think, gosh, how do I give back? And for a lack of a better term, what's my legacy going to be? So that's where I really started to go, I've been part of this limb loss community my entire life, and I've, tried to be an example to others, but how much have I really dug in and helped the community? And that's what I'm trying to do now with my life.
Well, we're going to pull up a clip and we're going to share a little bit about this journey coming back, and that, and then we'll get to the question that just came in from Clayton. So for all my listeners out there, just sit back and listen, and we're going to share a little bit about his comeback. So let me get that ready for everybody. Here we go.
Yeah, I'm coming back. The itch really came back when I started to volunteer for Arizona Disabled Sports. It's a fantastic organization. And I started to volunteer for their bowling program, and I really enjoyed it. But every once in a while, I throw a shot myself because I'm there to volunteer and help. The bowlers of Arizona Disabled Sports really got me to this position of wanting to go back on tour. When they knew that I was at one time a pro bowler and then saw me throw some shots whenever I just get up and get a house ball and throw a shot, they were like, wow, why don't you do this again? And it was funny because my coaching would have said the same thing, but for me personally, I'm like, I don't know. Well, they're the ones who talked me into it. They're the inspiration for me to go back on tour because they're my biggest fans and I'm their biggest fans. Our bowling is on Tuesday nights, and I'll tell you, every Tuesday night that we're at the bowling alley together, we have so much fun, so much laughter, so much success. We really have a great time. But here I am in an organization helping these bowlers where their motto is no athlete sits on the sideline. And guess what I'm doing? I'm sitting on the sideline. When the athletes saw me bowl, they're like, well, why don't you do it again? Why don't you do it again? And finally, it kind of dawned on me. They're right. I should do it again. I should get my butt off of and go bowl one more time. That was always my goal. Cancer certainly was the lowest point in my life, not knowing what tomorrow will bring. And that's really what kind of brought me to everything I'm doing now. The podcast, the We're Not Stumped podcast, the Joe and Marie Boland's Helping Hands nonprofit, the Enable reviews. That's what really was the start of it. Because when you go through something like cancer, you're not sure about tomorrow. And when you're not sure about tomorrow, you start questioning things like your own legacy, your own mortality, what you're going to leave for this earth when you're gone. And I'm very blessed that I'm through that cancer now 10 years, and I get the opportunity to do the things that maybe some people don't consider. We all think about these things, right? What's my legacy going to be? How can I give back? Well, that answer for me, slap in the face, was absolutely a slap in the face that said, now's the time. And one of the goals I had after cancer was to actually bowl one more PBA event. And I let it go for a little while. But the great athletes of Arizona Disabled Sports, they convinced me, and let's give it a shot. And this is going to be bigger than just me bowling.
Well, that video in itself was really inspiring and motivating for the listeners out there. We had a bunch of questions that came in during that time of the video playing. Mike, there was so many messages in there, right? It's on the sidelines. We're so fast to help others, but then we put ourselves on the side, right? And then people have to remind us to get off the sidelines and get in front of that lane as well, right? No pun intended, the bowling lane.
Hey, I like the fun. I do agree with you. Oh, I was just going to say, yeah, I agree with you. At times we're last on that list. And, when I went back, how I started with Arizona Disabled Sports was I was at an amputee support group, and it was put on by Hanger Clinic, and the executive director came in and she's like, hey, we have we have this Arizona Disabled Sports. She was looking more for participants, but I was like, do you have a bowling program? Because I used to bowl a little bit. I'd be happy to help. And I've been helping for the last 4 years because of that. And boy, you meet just the best people. We literally have a blast on Tuesday nights. And yeah, but kind of your point, I guess I was the one sitting on the sideline because I didn't even realize it. It was one of my goals to make a comeback, and I just didn't do it. And now I'm doing it for better or for worse. I'm doing it.
Well, I think it's going to be for good, right? It's a learning lesson, and it's showing people not to give up, right? To get back
Yeah.
up there and try at any age.
And I'll tell you what, you said something in your intro that I really liked about your podcast and your platform about, gosh, sometimes, and I'm going to paraphrase, so I apologize, but because I didn't write it down, but sometimes failure is not trying at all. And it was like, wow, they kind of hit me. It's like, yeah, no matter how I bowl, and I'm hoping I don't come in last place for sure, but no matter how I bowl, the worst thing would have been not doing it one more time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We got to get back on the horse sometimes.
Yes.
Well, we have a question here from Clayton. What motivated you to keep pursuing bowling at such a high level?
I'll tell you, when I first started, I started at 13 years old, which is kind of like to turn pro in a sport is kind of late in life, if you know what I mean. I had a friend ask me to join a bowling league, and I joined a junior bowling league, and I just became so enamored with bowling. My mom would drop me off at the bowling alley, and I bowl all day, literally, because I was so determined. I loved the sport so much. And then once I started to get a little better, I mean, I started at 13. When I was 16, I won my first state title, which was, was kind of fun. And I was just determined at that point to be the first person with limb loss, and in my case, missing his hand, to turn pro and bowl on the Professional Bowlers Tour. That was always the motivation. And once I did it, and I wanted to stay out there, of course, but life has its way of changing plans, and I don't look at it as a bad thing. I spent, I was on and off the tour for probably about 5 years, roughly, from my amateur days, even bowling on tour as an amateur, to when I decided to leave the tour and work at Discount Tire. The motivation for me, though, especially younger in life, was to try to be that first person to break that barrier and be the first person with limb loss to bowl on the Professional Bowlers Tour. And not only did I bowl on it, I cashed on national tour. My highest finish is second in a regional tour. So, again, you look back and you go, okay, maybe it wasn't the career that I would have wanted necessarily, but it wasn't a failure.
I think it's cool. Like, I like bowling, and I think it's cool. I think it's a good venting sport.
Yeah. Yeah.
Release,
you can definitely vent at times. And here's the thing, I'm right-handed. I don't even have a right hand. Okay, I'm just joking on that one, but hopefully Clayton liked that one.
Well, we have a question here from Discovery Connecticut. Mike, your positive attitude is contagious. How did you develop such a resilient mindset growing up?
That is such a great question, and for me, an easy answer. That's my mom and dad, Joe and Marie Bolland. I can start breaking. I can get a little.
It's
they're
okay.
no longer.
Teatime is a raw show.
Yeah, I don't mind. They're no longer with us. My mom, as I point to that prosthetic back there, we're talking the mid 60s when I was born. She didn't know I was going to have one hand. Suddenly they have a kid with one hand, and but their mindset was, it doesn't matter. It doesn't. He's just going to be like our other, as it turns out, other two kids. And the reason why I pointed to that prosthetic, because without YouTube, without Google, without being able to research these things, she taught a child before he was 2 years old to use that prosthetic. I was in a newspaper article, which I still have, before I was 2 years old. And the reason why I was in there wasn't because of me. I wasn't some boy genius who figured out how to use that hook. It was because my mother taught me how to use that. She probably had never even seen a person with one hand. And here she is teaching. Just the leadership of my parents cannot be undervalued. I'm the byproduct of their great leadership, and I'm very lucky that I had that, because I've met others who haven't had that, and it makes a big difference. It made a huge difference in my life. I love that question.
Well, sometimes mothers, we look at our children and we say, you know what, you're not missing anything. That's just your beauty mark. That's just, that extra special angel kiss is what I say. Angel kisses when there's a limb missing, or there's some form, or, my granddaughter was born with a cleft lip, and I say that the angel kissed her first. and forgot to take their lips off. That's why she was born with a clip.
I
So
love that.
I say to my son, like, she's beautiful just the way she is, but she's had surgery and it's been closed now. But we look at children in a different light than the public looks at our children. So thanks to moms out there.
Absolutely. I have a interesting side note to that. I have two daughters, and my oldest daughter was born with 11 toes. So you talk about jealousy in the family. I'm like, wait, I don't even get 5 fingers and you get 11 toes. How does this work? But I remember the doctors asking my wife and I, do you want us to remove it? We can do it right now. And it was like, no, that's her. And if she wants to make that decision when she gets older, that's certainly up to her. But it wasn't something that we were willing to do. And she's never struggled with it. She actually likes it.
Yeah.
So it's kind of neat.
Well, it's the extra special part, right?
Yes.
And that's what we have to look at, instead of looking at it as a disorder or an extra limb or no limb. We just got to look at it as a different gift, a different blessing, and a different story, because that was your story. Like that, this is your story, right, Mike? If you wouldn't have been born with that right hand, you wouldn't have the story you have. You wouldn't be who you are today.
I can't imagine myself being any other way. I can't imagine how I would be if I had 2 hands, and I'd probably be able to juggle much better. I got to give myself that, but yeah, I don't know. I was meant to be the way I am, and I'm happy, and I'm perfectly content having 1 hand.
I like this comment here that just came in from Jeffrey. It's inspiring to hear how humor has been part of your journey. When journeys are hard, humor is good. I always say that to my children. Humor is good. Add some humor in when it gets a little heavy.
I agree. And the self-deprecating part really helps bring people in instead of, creating walls. And I remember, and I'm just like anyone else, I was bullied in school and things like that, but my parents gave me that Teflon to deflect it and the tools to be able to navigate that. And one of the things is I always say is like, if a bully said a better joke than I had, I'd be like, hey, can I use that? I kind of hold on. Do I have to give you credit for this one? That's actually funny. And it just kind of brings people in.
Absolutely. Well, we have a question here from Russ, and it is, what chapter of your life has taught you your biggest lesson?
I would have to say it's the cancer, and I have a story on that one I'd like to share. The thing about growing up with 1 hand, whether I was 3, 5, 10, 15, 61 now, you walk into a place and people are going to stare, they're going to look, and I'm okay with it. Others like me are not okay with it. That's their own personal journey. For me, I'm okay with it. The night I was diagnosed with cancer, the day I was, go home, tell my family, obviously a very hard time and, a lot of emotions. After that, my wife goes, what do you want to do? You want to go out to dinner? And I wasn't sure if I was hungry, but I knew I needed a glass of wine or 5. I knew I needed something, 1 for each finger, 1 glass of wine for each finger. So we go into this place right down the road from where we're at right now. And I walk in, of course, and they didn't have any tables, but they had a place at the bar. So I go and walk in. And again, you have a 6th sense about how people looking at you because you're a little different. Again, doesn't bother me at all. But as I was walking down and I went to go sit down at the bar, it was the first time in my life, and this is I love this question, that I sat down and I looked back over the path I had just come in, and I realized it was the first time in my life that people were staring at me because in their minds there's something wrong with me, but it wasn't 1 hand. I had cancer, and no one could see that. So it was just like, wow, it really impacted me. I always say that I think I was a better person. I was a good person before, but it made me think of, as I was looking out at everyone that was sitting in the restaurant, we all have those personal stories about us. We don't know what other people are going through. I heard that. I actually wrote this down because I love your platform. Someone's on your podcast, and I wish I can give the credit to the person, but small acts make a big difference. I loved how that was said because it just reminded me of that day, and not knowing what other people are going through makes you treat people with a little bit more kindness and respect. And that was the most impactful thing that happened to me, 10 years ago. It'd be 10 years ago, September 9th, as a matter of fact. So it's coming up.
And that's what I've gotten from a lot of people who have sat at this table is the impact or stories. You just don't know what someone is dealing with. You know, you see the titles, you see the labels, and everyone's like, oh, their life is so easy. They had to work just like the rest of us. They had their ups and downs. They had their own mental illness, their own abuse, their own trauma, their own recovery. You know, you just don't know the stories. And like you said, your right hand was missing, so people could see that. But the cancer, people can't see that.
Yeah.
And unless you share it, nobody knows it either.
Yeah,
Right. So,
exactly.
was there any cancer in the family besides yours?
My
Mike?
mother had lung cancer, but it was probably due to her 60 years of smoking. You know, like I
So
said,
she was a smoker.
yeah, she really was a smoker. Yeah, so nothing else though, nothing like that, nothing like my cancer. It just happened, you know. I don't know. Again, I look at having one hand as kind of a blessing because it shaped my perspective, and certainly cancer changed and shaped my perspective of this part of my life.
Well, we have a question here from Dixon Rose, and it's what helped you stay mentally strong during that chapter of your life?
I really think it was the goals, and I'll say this: there are times where I was crying in the shower because I didn't want anyone else to see me crying. So it wasn't as easy, you know. I had struggles during that time. There's just no question about it. Um, my surgery was 9 hours. They took out, I think, 45 lymph nodes and part of my salivary gland. And I'm kind of lucky that my voice is still here, and others may disagree with that. It's like, Mike, shut up. But so I'm kind of lucky on that. But there was the tough times, but really the goals kept me going. You know, I never did try stand-up comedy. I always wanted to try it. So I did it. And of course, you know, the bowling, which is very recent. I haven't even done it yet. So that's a week from today, actually. I will be bowling my first event in many, many years. So to me, it was the goals that got me through, and other people that I now talk to within the disabled and limb loss community kind of cite that as well. When you're going through those little bumps in the road, have a goal for beyond those bumps, and it'll help you get through it.
You know, Mike, I love stories like yours because it shows people there's no age limit, there's no stigma on cancer or on mental illness or abuse, anything, right? There's no stigma on it. Like everybody could be affected from it.
Yeah.
And my listeners out there, we don't even know if some of the listeners today that are listening to your story are dealing with cancer in that. But we have a question here from Mariel that I want to reach out to you. And I'm curious what advice you would give someone who's currently struggling to see hope in their own situation.
Yeah, that's a great question. That one that, you know, at times I'm wondering if I'm the right person, but I can tell you what I did. And you just have to have that inner belief. And it's tough, you know, it's tough sometimes because like I got discriminated against with jobs and things like that. To just be perfectly frank, you know, I walk in for a job interview and they see you have one hand. It's like, you know, depending on what it is, you know. So sometimes it is tough, but I look at it as the inner belief. And I just try to say, okay, here's a perfect example. Like if I'm working on a car, it might take me a little longer to do something because I have one hand and I can't hold a wrench on both hands. But vice grips make a great right hand, for me at least. But there's some things in life that are going to be very difficult, even for me, or me included is probably a better way to say it. But just because it takes me longer to do it, doesn't mean I don't want to do it. And I don't want the satisfaction of the accomplishment of getting it done. The hardest thing sometimes is looking up that mountain and going, God, I don't know whether I can climb this mountain or not. But if you take it one step at a time, you'd be surprised how far up that mountain you can get. And once you get to where you need to be, you can look down and go, gosh, I can't believe I did this. You know, I'll be honest too, when it comes to my bowling and coming back, when I first started throwing the ball, I'm like, what am I doing? You know, this is crazy. But now that I look back and where I'm throwing the ball now, it's it's one step at a time. I think sometimes we like to think of things in chunks, like, hey, here's what I'm going to do, and it's going to be this big. But if you dice it up at one step at a time, I think anyone can reach what they're looking to do. Hope that makes sense.
I like that. Dice it up. It's like a perfect fruit salad, right? Dice it up.
Don't get me near a knife, because I had a problem once. I don't want to talk about
it. We have a comment here and a question. Your story reminds us that success isn't about having perfect circumstances. It's about making the most of what we have. I want to ask you about, what does have a stump and a smile mean to you personally, Mike?
Yeah, it's something I've been doing forever. I've always put a little smiley face on my stump, and I just thought of it, a few years ago, thinking, what a better way to say it. It's like, because most people probably think if you have a stump, you're probably not going to smile, but you could have a stump and you can have a smile, and you can make people laugh, and you could, like, kids coming up and they don't know how to approach me. If I put a little smiley face on it and kind of move it around, they smile, they laugh, and it brings them in. That's what it's all about. Of course, I don't tell Coca-Cola this, but obviously it has something to do with have a Coke and a smile, right? But so they can sue me, but that's fine. But have a stump and a smile.
You know what? Everybody's after Miss Liz. Like yesterday was Jelly Roll. We were going after Jelly Rolls. You just never know who's going to be coming at Miss Liz.
I love it. Yeah. But that's kind of what it's about. Just smile.
Yeah, absolutely. And I love your positive attitude. Being a little guy. And your siblings, how are your siblings towards you?
Again, I'll have to give it up to my parents. There was no, oh, he's got one hand, he can't do it. It never occurred to them. Like, my sister tells the story now. She was probably in 6th or 7th grade, honestly, where someone went up to her and she's like, man, I can't believe your brother has one hand. And she's like, he does? I did, because I'm Mike. That they only knew me as Mike, or the person that hit them with my hook every once in a while. No, I never did that. But it didn't occur to them that I had one hand, because I was brought up just like everyone else. There was no limitations on what I could do. My mom always said, if you put your mind to something, you can accomplish anything. She didn't just say that to me. She said that to my brother and sister too. So we all had this mindset, and they were a little older in life where they're like, oh my, I didn't even realize he had one hand. You're right. So isn't that, it's just an interesting perspective, but I have to, again, give it back to my parents even on that.
I like this coming from Dixon. It's use what you have really sticks with me. That is one of the quotes that you say quite often, Mike. Why that phrase?
Because I think sometimes, whether it be societal pressures or things like that, we're told we can't do things because we're a certain way. And I don't know if I was taking any drinks from this cup while we've been on, but here, use what you have. So I make sure that when I buy my cups, my mugs, that the handle is a certain size, because then I can use what I have and actually hold it. I don't know how well that's coming out.
Look at that.
There we go. And I can drink from it. I'm going to move I can drink from it. I can drop it. I never
thought of that on the mugs, right? The different sizes.
Yes.
Thinking
they are
outside
different
the box.
sizes, and I make sure. Oh, I'm sorry. I lost you there. I apologize.
No, it's all good. I got you.
Okay. Yeah, they are different sizes, and I make sure that all the mugs I get are certain size so I can hold it. Because then it looks like I have two hands. So like, hey, how are you guys doing? Yeah, I got a mug in one hand and my other hand's doing something else. Very rare occasion for me.
I always love when my listeners say this. Thanks for creating such an uplifting space. That's all I like doing this. I like to get to know people. I like to know their stories, all walks of life, guy. You just never know what's coming to the table. Mike, thank you so much for coming with your story to the table, because there's so many people out there right now that need the inspiration. They need that motivation to keep going and stay strong, because there's so much going on in the world, so much nonsense. Me and my neighbor were just talking about that this morning. Like, there's so much nonsense out in the world. We just need uplifting. We need motivation and to get ahead in life as well.
Well, thank you. Yeah, I'm trying my best, but really at the end of the day, I'm just living my life.
Absolutely. We have a question here is what did professional bowling teach you about confidence and possibility?
Yeah, you're going to fail more than you're going to succeed in anything, right? Whether it be pro bowling, maybe your work. But that's really what it taught me. It's like, yeah, here's a story I don't really share a lot, but it's a story that I still think about this every day. So 1980, I don't remember what year. It was either 86 or 88 because I bowled the Tucson Open as an amateur twice because I won both qualifiers. But let's say it's 88, like it really matters to the story. My parents came down because it's in Tucson. I'm in the Phoenix area, about an hour and a half away. They came down to Golden Pin Lanes to watch me bowl. And they didn't watch me bowl a lot for whatever reason, but this day they went down there. And I started out the block really slow. I shot like 180 something, 180 something. Then I kind of found my rhythm. I shot 227. I still remember this because this is how impactful it was for me. 227, 259 with the last 8 strikes in a row. Then I start out the last game of the block with the first 11. So a perfect game is 12 strikes in a row, and I bowled perfect games. But what happened that day was I had 19 in a row. I had my parents in the back, and I started going, "Gosh, this is so great! I shot 300 in front of my parents." Well, I didn't because I didn't have 12 in that game. I only had 11. But my mindset was, I can't believe I did this. This is fantastic. Well, it's like the old Yogi Berra thing. It isn't over till it's over. And I threw the absolute worst shot that still haunts me to this day. I let up on my speed. The ball overreacted, and I left what's called a Greek church, which is 5 pins. So I shot 295, 295 instead of 300. And since I was like the local boy with one hand, down there was a lot of people that started gathering around when I had the first 11 because they wanted to see the one-handed guy or just, the local boy shoot 300. There's nothing like a collective by about 200 to 300 people behind you when you mess up. I mean, there's nothing like it. I don't suggest it. I don't recommend it to anyone. It was terrible, but it taught me that, like Yogi Berra said, it isn't over till it's over. And to this day, I don't care what it is I'm doing. If I'm making a presentation, if I'm on your show, I try to give it everything I have because it's not over till it's over. I'm going to try to do my best on every shot. And hard lesson, but extremely important lesson for me. I was probably 21 at the time.
I love that you brought Yogi Bear up because my little one, I called her Boo Boo. Like she was my little Boo Boo. Like she loved Yogi Bear when she was a baby. She would kick and everybody said, "Where'd you get that nickname?" "Oh, Yogi Bear. Trust me, Yogi Bear." Oh.
Love Yogi Berra.
I believe the universe sent you to me, Mike, because there is so much resonation. Like there's so much things in your story that has been a part of my journey as well. So bringing back those memories of my little one with her little kicking legs and with Boo Boo. It's cute. We have a question here from Bob, and it is, what's one daily habit that helps you stay motivated and focused?
I work out. I know that sounds so easy, but with one hand, I have to build some of my own things. I built something out of PVC where I can do curls and presses like that. And it really sets my day up. When I go work out, do my push-ups, do my curls, do whatever, it just makes my day better. And it's one of those mind, body, and soul things for me. And going for a walk. And I love playing basketball. I'll go out and play golf. There's no limit for me to what I can do despite having one hand. That's just not, again, give it up to my parents. That's not the way I think. I may not be as good, I'm certainly not a pro basketball player or pro golfer, but it's something I enjoy. So I like to do what I enjoy, but I start the day out with what I can do. And I write down everything, how many reps I did. I'm not here to, win a contest or anything like that. But I'll tell you something else. And this helps with confidence for me. One thing about growing up with one hand, this side just isn't as big as the left side. That's the reality of it. You can look at my arms and, so for the longest time when I was growing up, I'd look at myself and go, God, my left arm is so much bigger than my right arm. I don't like it. And it affects the chest and the shoulders. But once I started working out, the differences they're never going to be, it's never going to be the same, but I was able to get it to a place where it's like, wow, okay, it doesn't look that bad. And again, it's just one of those things that kind of, it's a personal story, but because I don't know if I've ever shared that particular story. See, you have a very, you have great people listening, and you're a great host, so you're making me like say things that I wasn't.
Everybody says this. How did you get that out of me? I've never said that before.
Yes,
I can sit back and let you spill.
I don't even know if I've said that the PBA thing when I screwed up. I'll say it that way, when I messed up. But the working out really has helped me, and I think it helps with confidence too, because once I do my best. Again, I'm 61 years old, but I continue to move forward. I continue to work out. I continue to do whatever I can. And doesn't mean I'm going to be doing maybe the same amount of push-ups in 10 years that I'm doing now, but hopefully I'll still be able to do a few.
I love that you talked about confidence, because that's part of your T. The T that you gave me was empowerment, confidence, and possibilities. So why'd you give me those 3 words for your T?
Well, I think empowerment has to do, it's not just an internal thing, and I think it's an external thing, because we can give others empowerment. We can, like I said, when I'm bowling with Arizona Disabled Sports, I don't bowl, by the way. I'm just a volunteer, so I don't really throw any balls with them, any bowling balls with them. But we have fun, we laugh, and hopefully that's an empowerment for someone else. Hopefully they see that someone with one hand is actually not just a participant, but a volunteer. And they all do that too. That's how empowered they are. So empowerment is extremely, and then confidence. Yeah, they all kind of flow together. And I don't think, it can be internal, but I think it could be external too. It's what we can give the rest of the world, and, hopefully give people the belief that they can also do things, because it's not just an internal thing. I think it's as much external as anything else.
And the word possibility.
Yeah, possibility. Yeah, if we don't believe something's possible, why even start? Why even try? Although, this bowling thing, I don't know what the possibilities are, but I'll go back to when I listened to your intro about what you're doing. The failure would be not doing it, because I've really thought a lot about, this may not go well. This may not go well. And, chances are it's not going to, because I haven't bowled in a long time. Although I'm putting so many games in every day, I'm really practicing my butt off. But if I didn't try it, that's the failure. It's the possibility. It's possible I can win or bowl well. It wouldn't be possible if I didn't show up.
Yeah.
So I think, was it Wayne Gretzky said, you miss every shot you don't take, and I believe that. So you got to keep these possibilities open for yourself. You have to. And when I first started doing stand-up comedy, I'm going to be scared. I don't think scared is the right word. I'm going to go on stage in front of these people. What? And they may not laugh. There's a possibility they may not laugh, but there's also the possibility that they might laugh. And all my comedy, to be honest with you, is just about me having one hand. I make fun of two-handed people. I hope they don't get offended. No.
Well, they have an extra limb, right?
Yes. I was going to show you if I have it in here. Oh, I don't have it. I walk up on stage with a microphone cover on. Hey, is this on? It's just goofy stuff, but it kind of works. But again, it's the possibilities. It's without trying it, nothing's possible. That's why I think it's so important for all of us, not just me.
Well, we have a question that just came in, and it's, what inspired you to create the Joe and Marie Bolland Helping Hands?
Yeah, it's because of my parents, because I've lost them both now, and I love their philosophy and how they raised me. When you're growing up in it, you don't realize it. I think we're all guilty of that. But as I look back and what the gifts they gave me and my brother and sister, I just thought that what better way to honor them than to name something after them and to help others within the limb loss community. We're small, but we're growing, and it's important that people understand. And as I explained earlier, my mom and dad didn't have YouTube or Google or anything like that to do this to do the research of like, what do I do with one hand? What's a prosthetic? I don't even know what a prosthetic is, right? They did it. And I just want their philosophy to live on in an organization that is named after them. And, they don't even know. They don't know.
They do. They're watching.
Yeah.
We had Barbara on yesterday, and trust me, they know. There was lights flickering yesterday, and there was people watching, and they're always watching.
I like that.
We have a question here: why is representation important for amputees and people with limb differences?
I just think it helps the general population be more accepting. That's why I think it's pretty important, because it's interesting. I can go off my own story, and my own story is like, I'm going to do it anyway. Whether we have representation or not. But as I've started, 200 episodes in and talking to people within the limb loss community, I've realized that it's obviously much bigger than me. And there's people that are getting impacted every day. If you think about it, there's people that are entering the limb loss community every day that, unlike I did, where I was born like it could be an accident, it could be, medical condition, it could be anything. And when it hits you, it's just a much different scenario than my own scenario. And having that representation and having, giving people the chance, whether it be, in a commercial or just even professionally. Like I remember going to the Google campus. I remember going to Salesforce campus, and I was the only one like me there. And it's just kind of an interesting thing. And you hope you can open up some doors and without having a right hand, the etiquette is, hey, everybody shakes the right hand. And every time, they put out their right hand, and then they'd apologize to me. It's like, you don't have to apologize. I mean, I'm perfectly aware how many hands I have. But again, I would always turn my hand over and just shake it that way. Oh, I'm sorry. No, I'm good. Don't worry about it. And that kind of representation builds bridges, I think, instead of like doing it the opposite way. Being in my case, being offended, and like, oh, you shouldn't do that. Yeah. As corny as this sounds, and I think this might be from my parents, I look at every opportunity that someone stares at me, someone asks me a question, as a way that I could build a bridge for the next person. Because, again, other people, it's their journey, and they don't feel they have to explain to every person that comes up to them what happened to them. I can respect that. That's just not my personal journey. My personal journey is, I'll be happy to tell you, I was born like this. Ask me any question you like. I'm happy to answer, because I look at it more as a big picture thing. And again, it's probably my parents. I'd like to take credit for it, but I can't. That it's a big picture thing, thinking the next person will have an easier time because I want to let this person in, and we can communicate. Which I think communication, as you kind of said earlier, might be lacking a little bit at times in the society right now.
Yeah. And by sharing our stories is how we help other people heal as well, right? Because they don't feel alone. That aloneness and isolation is why people struggle to heal. Wow. And there's so many people that have said, Miss Liz, why do you share your story so openly? I want others to know that it's okay to share their stories as well. And wow. There's some of my story that's still not out there. I'll get it out there when the time is right. But I'm not afraid to share the hard scars, because those hard scars are what's made me who I am, and made me have this platform where guests can open up so openly like you have, Mike. A lot of my guests will say, how did you get that out of me? I didn't do anything, guys. I'm just here listening. I'm just giving you an opportunity to share your story with my listeners and my supporters out there. And it's your time to shine. It's not about me. It's about you and your story. Had you not reached out, I would have never met you, Mike. So I believe in the universe bringing people to me, because there's some guests that come to me and I'm just like, wow, how did that happen? And then
Well, I appreciate,
I
yeah.
understand later. And I understand that you're watching Tea Time, and I know you're listening to Tea Time because those guests that come on Tea Time are the ones that make the biggest impact. Just those little statements, just those little words, just a little tease. A lot of people say, Miss Liz, where's the beverage? There is no beverage at this table. We don't have a beverage. We have a party. We have a gathering. We have a conversation. That is what tea is. And I was given that at the age of 4. So,
Wow.
Mike, you do a podcast and it's called We're Not Stumped. What have you learned about podcasting and the guests that you've had?
I've learned more from the guests that I've had on than I've been able to impart knowledge. One of the things I did learn was the importance of the goals. I just thought it was something, well, when I beat this cancer, I'm going to do stand-up comedy and pro bowler story again. Well, most of the successful people, seemingly, if that's a very loose term, but the ones that come on the show and share their story, talk about their own personal goals, about they were in a car accident, lost their left leg, let's say, and they're sitting in a hospital bed going, what do I do next? And they start thinking, okay, you know what? I'm gonna run out of this place when I'm done. Is it always possible? No, but those goals keep you going. And like I said, those goals can be huge, but if you kind of split it up and dice it up, you can achieve those goals. I've really learned that through. I learned the importance of that through the guests I've had on. And I've also learned that doing everything single-handedly on the podcast thing is literally single-handedly is fun, is a challenge at times, but it's all good.
That's what I love about you, Mike, because you're like me. I just throw the humor in when it gets a little too heavy, right? And I'm just, they're like, I think last night I had a couple of listeners that came at me because I had asked Adam if he was a swinger. I wasn't asking if he was a swinger that way, guys. I was asking him if he was a swinger on the dance floor, but it didn't come out right. So, I'm here till midnight. And
try the veal.
Humor has really helped with becoming a host as well, right? So I'm sure when the guests are a little heavy, their stories are a little heavy, you throw the humor in to lighten the mood in that as well.
I try, it's funny. People ask me about other disadvantages or advantages to having one hand. And, well, a disadvantage, it's hard for me to open up jars like pickles. Advantage, no one asked me to open up jars like pickles.
I don't like pickles, so we're good. I'm not a pickle girl. Everybody's like, Mom, you want? No, take those things away from me. And whoever decided to put pickles on burgers, I got a beef with you guys. You're taking away the flavor of the beef. Keep the pickles.
I like the way you think.
Well, we have some lightning bolt questions here for you, Mike. So just some quick answers
Okay.
on these ones. Bowling lane or comedy stage?
Bowling lane.
One word that defines confidence.
Belief.
Best advice you've ever received.
You can do it.
What makes you laugh instantly?
Corny jokes.
What does possibility mean to you?
You can do it.
Awesome. See, lightning bolt questions, guys. Boom, 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 boom. This is the way it goes. It's like the pins on the bowling alley, right?
Yes.
We have a question that just came in. What are some terms that we might not know of that are spoken on the bowling alley? You talked about the geek church, the Greek church. A geek.
No, that's interesting.
What are some terms that we might not know?
Well, I'll get really into the nitty gritty as far as the pro game. The Greek church is one, but you can leave that anywhere. But like coming over the top of the ball, like what does that mean? Coming over the top of the ball, and I think that's when you've been away from the game for as long as I have, you're wondering whether these terms are still relevant. But coming over the top of the ball is a term, and what it means is I'm spinning the ball with the axis kind of on the bottom instead of it being the axis of the spin being like towards the pins. Coming over the top of the ball, that's dropping your shoulder. It means you're dropping your shoulder. You're probably not coming through the ball correctly. What other kind of baby splits? because there's splits where like the 7-10, the ones on the different sides, and then a baby split is like a 4-5 where the pins are right next to each other. Baby split. It's like, wow, what does that mean? Yeah, it's just, yeah, that's a great question, because I've never really thought about like some of those terms that just come naturally to me. What am I doing? Or slow your feet down. So, there's so many, because I'm practicing so much that I'm having to, it's like drinking from a gallon jug right now, or whatever, drinking from a water hose, that everything's kind of coming back to me. It's like, oh, okay. But it's interesting. I'm a little optimistic, because I'm not bowling as bad as I thought I would at 61 as opposed to 21, and being off as many years as I've been. Like, the other day I shot 255, 257, so which is not bad, not tour conditions, but gives me hope that maybe I'll do okay.
Well, I barely get the 180. So like all these higher numbers, I'm just like, whoa, that's good shooting.
Yeah. Well,
the only time I get them good is when I'm venting. My son says that, Mom, don't play bowling with Mom when she's venting. Like,
have a beer. Have a stump and a smile. Yeah.
Right? So, Mike, what final message would you like to leave everybody today with on Teatime?
That you should try, because when I decided I was going to bowl this tournament, and then I started practicing, I was like, this is stupid. I'm not, this is not going to end up well. But I had to redefine what failure is, and I have to redefine what success is. And I may have said it, so I apologize if I'm, kind of regurgitating some of this, but success is trying. Failure is not trying. I may come in last place. There's still a story there. There's still a story about, the cancer and the coming back and facing your fears, because I do have a fear of coming in last place. I really do. But I'm going to do it anyway. I'm going to bowl it anyway. I had that fear of getting on the stage for the first time. And that was a great question, by the way, when you said bowling alley or stage. And I was like, I don't know whether I'd answer that the same again this time. But
30 seconds later, he changes his mind.
I am already changing my mind. It's like, on the other hand, I'm stumped. It's like, there's no other hand. But anyway, but just do it. Just get up there. Just, do that thing that you always wanted to do in your life, because, tomorrows are not guaranteed for any of us. We got to do it. We got to get up there, get on that stage. And hey, I make a fool of yourself. Okay. But you tried it, and you're always going to feel better about yourself if you do it and you try it. And even if you fail, you're going to feel better than if you didn't try it at all. You got to get up there, and you gotta try.
And Mike, if anybody wanted to reach out to you to have them on their podcast, or to have you as a speaker or anything like that, where could they find you?
Well, MikeBolland.com is more of my speaking website. We're Not Stumped.com is the podcast website that I do, again, all single-handedly. Oh, it's crazy.
One hand job, right?
Oh, yes, exactly.
And guys, no, Miss Liz is not going down that route.
I didn't think of that.
I have listeners that go down those rabbit holes. Well, I really want to thank you, Mike, for joining me. Like, this was a pleasure. Any final words you have, Mike?
I was just going to say thank you. Thank you for your time. Thank you for the platform you've put together. And having those questions, I thoroughly enjoyed it. Your listeners are fantastic. And I feel better by being on this podcast. Thank you so much.
Well, thank you so much, Mike. It was a pleasure having you, and I enjoyed the humor 100%. Thank you, listeners and supporters, bringing your questions in. You guys, I never know where you guys are coming from. Thank you for tuning in. I could not do this without all of you guys. Like I say, it's Tea and Me is a team, and that's what we do on Teatime. I'm just going to do a quick recap of what today's Teatime was, and then I'll be back at 7 with Zoe Michaels, and we'll be talking about her book, Fractured Shadows, and music. That's where I'm going to surprise you guys with a little thing too as well tonight at 7. What a wonderful and motivating conversation today. Mike, thank you for bringing your experience, wisdom, and passion to the Teatime table. Your journey reminds us that success is built one step, one lesson, and one decision at a time. Today, we explored perseverance, leadership, discipline, personal growth, and the mindset required to continue striving for excellence both in sport and in everyday life. One of the strongest takeaways from today's conversation is this: success isn't always about throwing a perfect strike. It's about how you respond after every challenge life sends your way. Through your story, you've shown us that consistency, preparation, humility, and a willingness to keep learning are the qualities that build lasting success, both on the lanes and in life. As we close today's tea time, I leave everyone with this thought: how might your life change if your views every obstacle not as a roadblock, but as another opportunity to grow stronger? Because every frame in life offers us another chance to adjust, refocus, and to move forward. Thank you, Mike, for reminding us that resilience, determination, and character are the true measures of success. Until next time, keep aiming high, keep believing in yourself, and keep serving real life tea one conversation at a time. And today's takeaway is: champions are not defined by never missing the mark. They are defined by their willingness to keep showing up, keep learning, and keep moving forward with purpose. And I'll see everybody at 7 p.m. and we'll do it all over again.